He is the striker of the Philippine Football League's neophyte team, One Taguig. But giving his best is nothing new for this elite athlete here. So here to talk about how to stay focused in the game and much, much more. Welcome to the BNC studio, Andres Aldeguer.
Thank you for having me, Erica.
Andres,
such a pleasure.
Of course. We're so excited to have you here and of course share your story with us, Andres. All right, let's start. How did you get into football? Because I know you come from a predominantly athletic family. Your dad being a basketball superstar in UAAP and PBA back in the day, but how did you even get into football? Who inspired you?
Oh, it was my brother actually.
Okay.
So my dad used to play football actually when he was younger, and then he later shifted on to basketball around like grade 8, grade 9. So he kind of wanted us to develop on the football side, like working on our footwork, working on our speed. So eventually, like when we got to, around grade 8, grade 9, he was hoping that we would make that switch. And then what motivated me was actually my brother, because he was obviously older and, as a younger brother, I was always, following in his footsteps. Everything he did, I did. So if he wanted to play, let's say, football, I'll play football. If he wanted to play basketball that day, I was always his playing partner. So yeah, basically started at a young age, maybe around 6 or 7 years old.
6 or 7,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, so let me get this straight, Andres. You initially started playing football in hopes that in hopes that you would shift back to basketball because of your dad.
Yeah, and my whole family actually. My tito is the coach now of De La Salle Zobel for
wow.
high school. So I guess that was like the route for me, because
Right.
everything was put into place to play basketball. So my dad was a player, my tito is a coach, so everything was in line. But I guess it just didn't work out.
I know, yeah. Okay, so because of that, what was it about football that that just naturally gravitated you towards the sport?
I think it's more of like, the joy I get in scoring goals, and celebrating as a team. Like in basketball, like the only moment you get is maybe like a game winner, a
Right.
clutch block or something like that. But I feel like every goal you score is like, the whole stadium's cheering, the whole,
Right.
my parents, my
Yeah.
my teammates, and it's just a joy to have that feeling all the time.
I
Yeah.
mean, I suppose, right? Because unlike basketball kasi you can score like 100 in a game, right?
Yeah.
But like for football, it's usually like 3-6 goals in a game.
Yeah.
So it's very rare
Very
that you
rare,
get to
yeah.
score. Okay, so I get that. All right, Andres. Now I know back in 2022 you joined the ASCO's development team, correct? ADT.
Correct, yeah.
And now you're playing for One Taguig. So tell me, how was the transition between both teams, and how did you evolve as a player from ADT and now playing for One Taguig?
So being in ADT was more of like a youth club. Like, people were my age. I was able to, speak my mind. But then as I went to like the professional level, everything kind of gets more serious. They're
Right.
very strict with like, coming to training on time. When training starts, we stop the joking. So it was kind of an adjustment to me. Like, I was playing with people who were like, at the time I was maybe 19, I was playing with guys much younger because I was one of the oldest there in the ADT team. So
Right.
Shifting to the professional level, I'm like the youngest one there. So I'm like, more quiet, more inside. But then, One Taguig is I'm very blessed to have a good family there. So as I got to play, get along with the guys, I get to, speak out more.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I know also in ADT that you were the best scorer in the team, which I'm pretty sure that put a lot of pressure on your shoulders back then. So how did you handle the pressure, knowing that, si Andres, like he's the one who's gonna goal, pass it to him. Like, how did you handle that?
I think it just has to do a lot with the, repetitions and training, because, if you put in the work and training and you come to the game, like it's nothing new. Like goal scoring isn't something new, and I feel like in the pro league, because in ADT we would we had a younger squad, so the expectation
Yeah.
for me to score was like not as heavy as it is now, because we have pro players who dedicated their lives to it. They've been playing for 5, 10 years, and their expectations for you to score every time you get on is very high. So it was a big adjustment to that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine. Okay, so ADT, and then you shifted to NCAA in the US.
Yeah.
You were telling me about that earlier off cam. You were telling me about, your lovely experiences getting to train with your US teammates back then. How do you think US football is any different from Philippine football in terms of like the culture, the training culture, the playing culture? Are there any differences?
On the technical side, I would say it's very similar. Like, because the main sport, of course, in the US is like basketball or baseball, and same like the Philippines. We have the main sports like basketball and volleyball. It's growing. Like more NCAA Division I teams are actually starting to put up their own football team, and a big difference from the college level here and I think with the States is the facilities. Like, I was really shocked when I got there. Like, we had a massive gym for like all students, and like on my off days where we didn't have team lifts, we'd like gym there with like some of my boys. And then I think there were maybe like 10, 12 squat racks in that one place.
Wow.
And then, when it got to like team lifts, there were maybe like 18 squat racks, and it was overwhelming.
That's
like
crazy.
The first time we got there.
And you guys were just sharing it all together.
We were just sharing it all together, yeah. Like,
even with other teams, like from other sports as well.
yeah, so let's say team lift. Our team lift was usually like 6 to 7 in the morning. 7 to 8, there was like the basketball team, so you see all the guys there.
There's a scheduled time for it.
There was a scheduled time.
Okay, Andres, having played in US NCAA for a year, what was the biggest lesson that you've learned there and that you were able to bring here in the Philippines?
I think it's just living independently. Like, I feel like there I had, because here in the Philippines I have a individual coach who helps with my shooting. Unlike there in the States, I was all alone. So for me to improve on my scoring, to improve on my touches, and improve on my dribbling, I had to, call my coach. Coach, do you have like the keys to the locker? Get some balls, and set up my own cones.
Right.
And, yeah, it was very different there. Yeah.
Okay, that's very insightful. Yeah, because actually I was gonna ask about how being independent in the US, when you learned about being independent, how that translates to your play style as a football player now. So you were able to answer that naman. But as a striker though, Andres, is there any player that you kind of pattern your playing style after? Is there anybody who inspires you?
I think right now it would be Erling Haaland, because I feel like, with how big he is and how fast, I try to take advantage of the height, because, normally football players aren't like, on the taller end. So being a tall guy in the Philippines kind of helps me like, image like, Erling Haaland.
Yeah. Okay, well that's a very good choice. Okay,
Yeah.
Andres, just out of curiosity, before we wrap up our interview, because I covered for you guys back in Malaysia for the 7X International, and you guys placed silver, diba?
Yeah.
Silver. So, you were playing together in the same team as some of our football Philippine legends like Schrock and Misag, for example, and of course the Hartman brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Were there any, what was the most important advice that they taught you being a young striker?
I feel like it's more of like having character, like being around, who's Mark Hartman, who is in my position striker. You just have character. Like, you see him, he's so composed when he gets the ball. Turn, shoot, finish. And he has that like small celebration. I feel like building your character and building like, personality and how you play impacts the way you really play.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing that really struck me the most during our trip was when Hartman really, he really emphasized the importance of straightforwardness. Like, just be straightforward on the field, Exactly. Which I feel like definitely reflected on your playing style at the time.
But I definitely have to learn a lot from him.
Of course. I mean, you're still young, so the journey is definitely it's going to be a long road from now. But thank you so much, Andres, for coming to the studio and sharing your story.
Thank you again for having me.
All right.